right. Hey, everyone. Happy Math Crush Monday. Parent-teacher conferences are the topic of tonight's Math Crush Monday, and we're going to talk about what we should share with parents in regards to homework and messages. And this piggybacks off of a session and a video we did a couple weeks ago about how to help our families in math class. So be sure to go check out that video as I give you a lot of information around mindset and how we share math methods with our families and get them to help. So we are diving in tonight again with the parent-teacher conferences. I know some of us have already had them, some of us are coming up on them, but regardless, we know that this is a topic that we all need support with because we have a very short amount of time to talk with parents and we want to make it as meaningful as possible. So if you're new to me or new to this place, welcome. My name is Shannon Keebler. I am the creator of the Math Genius Squad, which is a K-6 math membership that is a companion to those of you who use math expressions as your curriculum. So with that membership, we provide on-demand professional learning videos, Google slide decks for your lessons, small group activities, principal scaffolds, you name it, we provide it to help you be more successful teaching in the classroom. So if you're joining us on our website at empowerlearngrow.com, welcome. I'm glad that you're here. I know we have members joining us. We have new friends joining us. And then if you're on our Facebook group, which is Math Expressions User Group, hello to all of you as well. So let's get started as we talk about parent-teacher conferences. We are going to make this short and sweet. So here's what I want you to think about in terms of sharing information with our families. We're going to talk about with homework and the learning path or examples and methods. Remember, both of these we addressed fully in our video 2 weeks ago. So let's build off of this idea. I want to share with families standard-based grading. Okay, standard-based grading for most of us is old hat. We've been doing it for multiple years. For some of you, you are just now transitioning yourself to how to do standards-based grading. So if it is new for you, imagine how different it is for our families. So our families and our parents all grew up in the era that we did, which was A, B, C, D, F, right? So if you don't turn in your homework, you're going to get a D or an F. If you do bad on the test, you're going to get a D or an F. So those were more based on averages, whereas most of us are moving to a standard-based grading approach, and that needs to be explained to parents because they don't quite understand it. And not understanding it leads to a lot of frustration on their end. So to help us with this, I have assessment covers. If you're in the Math Genius Squad, you know that you can already get these in your membership area. Just click on the assessment icon for each grade level. If you don't have them and you would like them and you're not in the Math Genius Squad, just comment assessment covers. I'll send you the direct link and you can go grab them for each unit. But here's what we've done. We've taken the unit test and we've broken it up by standard and by item number. Now that's no matter which copyright you use, we have an assessment cover version for you. Okay, but the most important part is not only do I put in the standard in which items like standard 2 NBT A2 is number 11 on the assessment. I've also highlighted in bold the part of the standard that you're really grading. Because for most of you, some of these standards, especially if you're in like kindergarten, are much too broad. Like they're huge standards. And when we try to assess the fullness of a standard in one unit, we often don't have enough data. Like we haven't taught the entire part of the standard yet. So this is breaking it down because technically with standards-based grading, remember, they have all year to gain mastery. So even mom and dad, if they're not showing mastery right now, it is my job to help them get that mastery by the time the unit, or excuse me, by the time the year is over. Now, we are doing unit mastery. So we do want students to get mastery at the end of each unit on these standards or the parts of the standards in which we've bolded, but we're going to continue to provide them support until we get them there. Okay, so I want to share that. So I oftentimes will grade the unit test using these assessment covers. I staple it to the front of the assessment, and that's what I send home. So it's very clear that John does not just have a 63%. A 63% means my kid's not good at math. Right? Versus that's not really accurate. I can say, well, this was heavily weighted. Like, look at this one standard. So they're actually doing quite well. They just aren't understanding this standard, and that it was really heavily weighted. So even if it still might be like a 63% in standards-based grading, we're not going off percentages. We're going off of, do they get it? Do they partially get it? Do they exceed standards? Do they not get it at all? So I'm saying they're making progress towards the standard, and we're going to keep working on this. We might get to it again in unit 6 or in unit 7, so on and so forth. Okay, this breaks it down so it's not a percentage based. At the bottom, it's also the mathematical practices. So when I say I'm sharing standard-based grading content and math practices, I'm saying here's the content we've covered, mom and dad, up until this point of conferences. Okay, I've broken it down by standards, and I'm just highlighting a couple of the standards that your student is doing really well with. And here's a couple of the standards that we are still working on. I'm also highlighting the mathematical practice standards. So remember, those are like qualities, character traits with our students. So how are they doing on persevering and problem solving? How are they doing on connecting math structure? Like those things are equally as important, and those standards stay true K. And if I want parents to change their mindset, it's not just about time test and math facts. Then I also have to share, we're also working on some of these qualities in the math classroom, and here's where your students are doing on those. Now, I also have in those assessment covers a student reflection sheet. So for many teachers, this is included in the bundle if you go get this, okay, or members, again, you have it already, that they make some goals up here, but then we've put the standards in user-friendly language, specifically kid-friendly language. So that now they're rating themselves. They're coloring these boxes. I got it green. It's yellow because I got some of it right, not all of it right. It's red. I didn't get it at all. And then I'm giving myself a self-rating. Like, how am I doing on this option? Okay, so on this standard, word form and expanded form, how am I doing? Based on what I've colored and based on how I feel I understand it, what rating would I give myself? Some teachers are finding that they actually prefer to send this home over the standards-based one that was on my slide previously. They just feel like it's the easier language. Mom and dad understand it clear. But you do have the one that's on the previous slide for you, for your grade book, but also for the parents that actually want more information. Like they want to have this broken down and they're not fully understanding what it means for kids to do, for example, two-digit addition. Because in their mind, they're like, my kid got an answer. Why did they get this wrong? Well, that's where the fullness of the standard comes in. When you look at the standard, it doesn't just say that they can add two-digit numbers. It says that they understand regrouping and making new bundles of 10 and of 100. It says that they understand digit by digit place value and connect to a commutative property. Like the standard is much more involved than just they can do two-digit addition and get an answer. So if you feel like parents need more information, you might choose then instead to give this one to them and then break that down for them. So I'm also going to share at parent-teacher conferences asset-based language. So I always start with that strength-based conversation of what are your students doing really well? Like I really appreciate these things about your mathematician, right? Especially if parents already have in their mind that their kid has always struggled in math. They've never really gotten it. I was never good at math. I understand why they're not good at math. Okay, all of those things. Sometimes they don't really recognize the strengths their kids really do bring to the table and what they're doing well. So in this case, this is my go-to template. I've always used it for parent-teacher conferences. I call it the glow and grow. It's what sets me up for success in terms of preparing for conferences. And I'll say glow, like here are the things that I feel like your student is doing really well. Now I'm going to include content-based things and math practices. So you can see that here, content and character traits. They persevere when they get stuck. They are a community member. They're often our student leader. They do a really good job of answering other people's questions. Okay, those are character traits that we should be proud of in our mathematicians, and I want to highlight that. So I highlight that here as well as from those assessment covers, what content are they doing well with? Then I try to give one or two grows, the things that are like the biggest impact. Like there might be several things the students not quite understanding. I don't need to highlight all of them right now. I need to highlight the ones that really feel like it could be helpful if I got some parent help at home on it, or if it feels like this is a significant issue that I'm a little bit concerned now, and we might be provide additional support in an intervention group or something like that. Again, I'm going to provide content and a character trait, asset-based language. So I'm going to talk about things like they tend to give up really easily when they get stuck, like they don't persevere through it. They don't try different ways to do it. They shut down, they get mad, whatever it might be. That's an area I'd really like to see them improve. And then of course, how to help at home. What would be helpful if mom and dad did it? And remember from our last video, don't say work on your math facts. What does that even mean? Okay, so instead you might say they're really working on their 7s and their 6s right now. And I have something prepared. I'm sending it home with you about how you might practice that. So we want to be very clear because what is helpful to us and language that we understand is not the same language that most families use at home. And it just feels ambiguous. So we want to be as clear as possible. So I use this template. Even if I'm doing some of these assessment covers and I have more detail that I might send home with them, in a 5-10 minute conference, I don't have that much time to share all of those covers detail by detail. I can highlight things on this particular document. So this is a freebie we have for you. If you want it, just put your glow and grow in the comments. We'll send that link right over to you and you can download it right now if you'd like. Okay. I also might send home in that packet for our parents, I might send home the computation methods. Now, in our previous video for parents supporting parents at home, we talked about the importance of the family letters, right? And that we can get the family letters on Think Central. I also have them on my website in all the different languages. Those are really important, but parents don't know they're important unless you tell them they're important. Okay, so you might even wait to this conference and send home the bundle of family letters for the next couple of units so that they have them all in one place. But I also like to send home the specific computation methods. So if you're in the 2018 or older copyrights, you would go to Think Central, you'd click your grade level, and then you'd click the teacher resource book. In the teacher resource book, you have a separate category called computation methods. And in the computation methods, it has all of these. This is, I think, fourth grade, where it says these are like the multiple methods we're going to use to teach something. So for example, in fourth grade, we're teaching multiplication of a 2-digit number by a 1-digit number. We're also then going into 2-digit by 2-digit. They have all those forms. So I like to print this and say, hey friend, so this is how we're doing multiplication. I know this is different from how you and I grew up. It might look unique, but I just want you to know that ultimately we will probably get kids to one of these two methods by the time they're in 5th and 6th grade. So we have to understand our standards clearly. But the 4th grade standard, mom and dad, actually says that your student can do this method here. This is the area model. We also call it place value sections. And your standard directly calls this out. Then it says they have to be able to connect it to a numeric method, which might mean they put the equations outside the box. They set it up something like this. I'm going to teach them these, and they're going to get to choose the one that they're most successful with, but they have to be able to do this one according to the 4th grade standards. But don't worry, long term, we are still going to go into something like this or something we call partial products. Okay, I just think that's helpful to everybody. Let's be honest. Okay, clear is kind. Like I think they think that this is just ridiculous. Like, why is this coming home? Then it goes home and they're like, just don't do that anymore. That's so many different steps. Just do this. But I'm helping mom and dad to see, remember, we're building number sense in our students and flexibility. And that's what this is doing. And friend, they're actually going to need it when they get into 9th and 10th grade and they start working on even like polynomials. Your high school teachers still need this method. It never goes away. So it's really helpful if you just encourage students to stay with this. Okay, we're going to help that. Let's talk about the last part. The last part is I do talk in parent-teacher conferences if it feels appropriate to talk about homework. If that seems to be a bone of contention and mom and dad are like, they're helping and they're crying at the kitchen table and, all the things. I want to make sure they understand the point of homework. The point of homework is to be independent and to practice things they've learned in class. The point is not to be frustrational and to cause a strife at home. Okay, the point is not to take up your whole evening. So I also share time frames that for me, now you have to decide for your school and what your philosophy is, okay? But for me, if you're 7 years old, you spend 7 minutes on math homework. If you're 10 years old, I want you sending 10 minutes on math homework. Now, some schools just say it's just 10 minutes across the board. Every grade, no matter what, will have 10 minutes of math homework. You do you, okay? But having that clear means that helps mom and dad to say, I don't want them at the table for 2 hours crying. Like that's not meeting our purpose at all. If it's taking them 2 hours, it means they're not ready for this piece of homework to be home yet. They're not independent enough. It doesn't mean they're not going to get there. It doesn't mean they need a whole bunch of extra support. It just means that particular set of problems wasn't ready to go home yet. And it's helpful for me to know that. So how can you help at home? You can help, and I'm going to give them this handout I'm about to show you. Okay, here's some guiding questions. I don't actually need you to be the expert. I don't necessarily need you to reteach it. I want you to help your child to know when you get stuck, what are some things we can do when we get stuck? Like what might you do now? What picture could you draw? Even if you don't understand the picture, I don't even need you to understand the picture, mom and dad. I don't need you to be the expert. I need you more working on those math mindset type things at home to help them try something else. And they're not even getting a grade for this in the grade book. It's a piece of information for me to decide whether or not they're getting enough practice and to figure out where they're getting stuck. If you do every problem with them and they have it perfect, number one, it's not really helping their grade, okay, because I'm not using it for grades. But number two, I don't know where they got stuck to actually help them in class. So if you're spending more than that 10 minutes, would you just circle where you left off, do your signature, and just let us know it took you 10 minutes to get to that point? And that'll tell me a lot of information. If it took 10 minutes to get to that point, I'll now know how much your child is understanding or not understanding. Then I'm going to talk about what's sent and why. So when you look at your homework, remember, there's 2 pages. There's a homework side and there's a remembering side. Okay, I want you to look at this example from 4th grade. I mean, who needs to do 18 long division problems? Nobody. Okay. Now, if you want them to have that much practice, you can go with it. But remember, it's got to stay within that 10 minutes. The most important part is the remembering side. That's where we're spiral reviewing. It's supposed to be independent versus the homework. I see teachers, in fact, this just happened to me. A teacher was like, well, you didn't teach enough for them to actually do their homework tonight. And I'm like, my goal is not to teach enough to do the homework. My goal is to get to mastery on the concept. And if it's taking us longer to get to mastery, then I'm not sending home this homework. We barely learned it today. They are definitely not ready to be independent. So I generally say they have to do the remembering side, mom and dad. Spend 10 minutes, okay? That includes the stretch your thinking where they're going to be frustrated. And this is a part of, remember that what you're working on and something I'd like to see them grow on is trying to figure out stuff even when they don't know. Like what's something they could try even if they get it totally wrong. Okay, so we're not holding their hand through this. And then I might say, and then if they have additional time in that 10 minutes, I might have circled some of the problems on the back. Like I only circled 3 problems for tonight. I want them to give those a try and see how they do. But you need to know, mom and dad, we barely introduced this today. So if I only circled 3 problems on the back, it means I'm not expecting mastery or for them to really understand it. I just want to see what they do remember and if they can practice and apply what we did. Okay, I'm just being clear. Clear is kind. So here are some helpful resources. First one I showed you, I talked about the Glow and Grow. Just comment Glow and Grow. We'll send you that link so that you have it, or click below and you'll see the link as well. Okay. Parent support. So if you're watching the replay, we'll have it linked. Parent support. I also have this. It is that how to help at math at home. We offered this in our last video. It's just like if they're getting started, here's some of the questions you could ask. This is going to help them persevere, get over that productive struggle. Here's some questions you could ask while they're working or when they're reflecting. Okay, so if you want this, just comment parent support. And then of course we have our assessment covers. Just a reminder, our squad members, this is already included for you. If you're not a squad member, but you would like that, just comment assessment covers. We'll send you over the link and you can go download them yourself as well. Okay, so those are those assessment covers. And then don't forget that on the website, if you go to empowerlearngrow.com and you click in the upper toolbar, it'll say resources. There'll be an icon that says parent support. There's going to be parent support for teachers and then parent support for parents. So you can also share that link with your parents so they can get additional support. So remember the goal of parent-teacher conferences, right? The goal is to share student progress and to have parents and teachers partner with how we're helping students to move forward. So you have a short amount of time. I'm hoping tonight you got a couple of ideas about how you might do that using Math Expressions materials. All right, friends, thanks so much for joining me tonight. Have a great Math Crush Monday, and we'll see you next week. Bye for now.